afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well today. There was something that interested me a while back as far as the film, I believe it was called San Andreas. Don't know why I kept calling it Los Angeles back in my office. That average-ish film with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson trying to basically portray what would happen if San Andreas had a 9.6 earthquake. Who said Matty could replicate that jumping up and down? Shut up, you. I'm not that bad. Fucking hell, man. I am not a walking natural disaster, or a jumping one for that matter. I'll tell you who is, though. Keir the traitor Starmer. And here's a fun fact for you as well. I thought it was a man from America who had the longest penis, you know, 13.5 inches. But there's been debate that apparently someone has a 20-inch penis. Now, I personally want to fucking challenge that, because I don't think even that is the biggest knob. No, if you want the biggest knob, he stands at 5'8", and his name's Keir the traitor Starmer. Yes, head to toe of pure knob. But the real question is, will he stop making a fucking fool of himself? It's no wonder his wife has stopped asking for a peck on the cheek. Anyway, I actually don't want to talk about Keir the traitor Starmer too much. I want to talk about something else. I know I'm a bit late for this one, but Tommy Robinson, the whole St. Pancras attack. Because when the story first came out, even then it was pretty hard to believe. The mere idea that Tommy Robinson would go out of his way to punch a man in the face in what seemed like an unprovoked assault. But of course, much like most of the mainstream media's lies, all you have to do is dig beneath the surface, and the more sinister extent of the oligarchy's lies is known. Because it turned out this left-wing nutter was harassing Tommy Robinson, accosting Tommy Robinson, and at one point effectively threatened Tommy Robinson with being kicked down the stairs in the context of Tommy offered him to go down the stairs first, but this man refused and then started getting right up in Tommy's face. Now, Tommy Robinson made it very clear to this man he needs to stop pestering Tommy Robinson. He needs to stop going out of his way to accost him. He was given more than enough chances than what most people would get. I'm wondering if Monopoly had a hand in that with all the chance cards. Anyway, he had more than enough chances to walk away from that shit, but he continued to harass Tommy. And eventually, something's got to give. And bear in mind, Tommy Robinson has spent 7 months in solitary confinement as a civil prisoner in HMP Woodhill with less human rights than terrorist Axel Raduku Banana. That's 7 months non-stop. Not 2 weeks in between and then a week off. No, 7 months non-stop in solitary confinement, his human rights under Article 3 being violated. And considering Tommy has been attacked many times before, stands to reason that this kind of shit would put Tommy on edge and make him quite paranoid. Therefore, it stands to reason, when Tommy has had experience in this field before, stands to reason that he's going to defend himself if he feels like he's got no other option. Now, Tommy Robinson didn't have to then go to the police and say, look, this is what's happened. I was accosted by this man. I told him, back up, leave me alone, fuck off, piss off, go away, whatever you want to call it. But it isn't his fault that this dickhead clearly got an E in English. And I think even that's being generous, quite frankly. But he told the police this man had enough chances to stop harassing Tommy, and Tommy defended himself. At no point was he told, you need to wait there so you can hand yourself in. He was not told that you have to do this, that, and the other. He had a pre-arranged meeting to see people in Spain, and therefore, he wasn't breaking any laws. He wasn't fleeing from prosecution like the lamestream media tried to libelously slander him as. No, he was going to meetings, and they effectively tried to do him for it. They tried to slander his name, which, of course, anybody who's seen how the mainstream media works, almost every single person who has that rare resource known as common sense can see through the mainstream media's lies like a clear pane of glass. Now, Tommy Robinson, I don't think I actually said it earlier, but Tommy Robinson's been cleared of all charges now. Tommy has been cleared of any wrongdoing. He did not assault this man. The British Transport Police, and I have to because that is what they're called, so fucking sue me if you don't like it. But anyway, the British Transport Police had the footage of what happened, of this man harassing Tommy Robinson. Now, it wasn't the fact that they decided not to press charges. It was the victim, I shouldn't say victim like the police have done, because they tried to imply that this man was the victim in all this, when he was actually the instigator. He was stirring the pot. He was the one who fucked around and found out. But the police tried to paint him as the victim, even though he was the one accosting Tommy. But at least the victim had some semblance of sense and decided perhaps it's not in the best interest to actually pursue action. Because I think he knew, and the oligarchy knew full well, that they were never going to get Tommy Robinson on this charge. But what's really sad, and what's going to make some people's piss boil, is the fact there were some people who claimed to be witnesses. They bore false witness to what happened. They tried to make out that Tommy Robinson was the one who instigated the assault. I guess we'll never truly know if the footage will ever be released now. I suspect not. But I think that footage would unequivocally exonerate Tommy Robinson. So I wonder, to these false witnesses, these wankers who had an agenda, how do you think a libel and slander case is going to look if Tommy decides to sue? Because I've said this before, and I will say it again. I said it about Lizzie Dearden. Or maybe I was right first time. I've said this about the mainstream media. I've said this about the two-tier policing society. I've said this about Nigel Al-Faraji when he tried to refer to him as a woman beater. But I can tell you right now, Tommy Robinson, if he'd wished, he could be a billionaire right now. He could literally be sleeping in a bed full of green queens. All he'd have to do is take these people to court, and he'd end up a billionaire overnight, just like that. If only I could make a career like that, of exposing the oligarchy's bullshit and their lies. But to be fair, I'd probably be thankful if I only got 100,000. Hell, I'd be happy with £2,000, quite frankly, because I'm not a desperate person. Would I love to live in my own house and not have to worry about a mortgage? Oh yeah, 100%. But here's the thing, I'm not so desperate for money that I need to fleece it from the good people of England. Whereas people like Keir the traitor Starmer, aka the biggest knob in the land, he does. He'll take it from the taxpayer. He will take it from the elderly. He'll take it through the council tax. And he will use it to fund the invaders coming from third world shitholes to turn our country into a third world shithole. We may never be able to see the footage of what happened at St Pancras Station, but what we can do is laugh at the lefties and the foaming at the mouth media who now no longer have the capacity to say Tommy Robinson assaulted a man, because we now know that this man was not willing to press charges, and as such, anything they try to say on that matter will be completely unfounded at best and libelous slander at worst. But it's obvious that this is not the first time the mainstream media have tried to libelously slander Tommy Robinson, and I guarantee you this won't be the fucking last. As I've also said though, most children, when they go to sleep, they check under their bed to see if the boogeyman's there. When Keir the traitor Starmer or Nick Lowles try to go to sleep, they check under their beds for Tommy Robinson. Now, speaking of Keir the traitor Starmer, there is something else I do need to talk about, actually. That is quite important. That is about the Online Safety Act. Because Starmer is actually being dragged through the US courts by none other than 4chan. And for anybody that doesn't know what 4chan are, they are effectively... Oh, I gotta be careful because I don't want my head on a fucking spike right now. But they are a US, I guess, organisation that basically... Well... I guess the best way I could describe them, they're a bit of a rogue element. They do all sorts. Memes, they will take on the oligarchy, it seems, because they don't like their human rights and their online rights being violated. They will troll, they will do all sorts. It's not malicious in most cases. However, there have been times where they have taken it too far, such as what happened at the, I believe it was the Agile event, where they started posting increasingly reprehensible shit, including NSFW stuff and stuff to do with a certain far left socialist dictator. Or again, maybe I was right first time. But even the trolls have to come out and say, you know what? This is time to get serious. And what Keir the traitor Starmer is doing is fundamentally wrong. And you know what? Good on them. If they're willing to defend their US constitutional rights against a sectarian bastard that is about as empathetic to ordinary people as a hyena is to a dead deer, then it stands to reason that 4chan has my support in taking down Keir the traitor Starmer. It's kind of funny, isn't it? Of all the groups of people, 4chan taking on Starmer. It's funny when you think about it. It really is. Because it really does show just what kind of shit that Starmer is in. Like, I mentioned the Agile event before, so let me tell you the context behind this. At this event organised by some people, there was live feeds of what was then Twitter at the time on these screens on the wall, and basically somebody came in and actually posted to 4chan under the guise of B, I need some trap imagery and basically all the NSFW stuff and distasteful stuff, and I want you to post it and see if it comes up on these screens. So after a while, 4chan picked up on this, and they actually posted stuff on there, and lo and behold, it appeared on the fucking screens. So you can understand that when they've seen this opportunity, they can literally spam those screens with all manner of offensive and degenerate shit. And yeah, I don't think I need to say it didn't end very well for Agile Alliance, I believe it was. They were like, Agile does not approve of the misuse of the Agile hashtag. And oh my god, they declared war on 4chan, and oh my god, it ended very badly. They had to pull the plug on Agile Alliance. It just goes to show that Keir the traitor Starmer is not just the most hated man in England or Britain or whatever you want to call it. He's also one of the most hated figures in the United States. And only a knob with no spunk like Keir the traitor Starmer could even think for a fraction of a second that he is going to last 10 years. 10 years. At this rate, you'll be lucky if you last 10 seconds. This man is picking a fight with all the wrong people. He is damaging our alliance to the United States. He is making us a laughingstock across the world. He is showing his totalitarianism to the whole of the world. And he is going to ignite a civil war in his own country. And as I've said many times before, when that does happen, not if, when that does happen, Keir will only have himself to blame. Right now, this man is playing around with a flamethrower, not realising there's a hole in his tank and it's about to blow. Normally, ladies are supposed to find that's enough of that. Find that kind of thing hot, but not this knob. Anyway, the fact is, Keir's going down. Keir the traitor Starmer's reputation is up in flames. He is a smouldering ruin. You can literally look on from any part of the world and just look at London and look at the smouldering remains of the Labour Party right now. The only people who are even remotely going to consider voting for the Labour Party are the fanboys and girls who can't think for themselves, and of course the mentally deficient. But while I'm at it, let's stop grilling Labour over a fire, because quite frankly they're already looking like charcoal as it is. Let's now talk about Nigel El-Farage, because here's the thing. People will say, oh, we need to vote for reform, but they don't realise a lot of these people, should I start calling them you lot, considering they called us that lot? Anyway, that lot, we're patriots. You lot, you pretend to be patriots. You can't even read the room when Nigel El-Faraji is categorically saying, if I alienate the Islamic vote, we will lose. When he's going out of his way to initially say that I don't believe in mass deportations. And then, lo and behold, at the local elections, we will do mass deportations. Likewise, when his numbers are dropping, when his membership numbers are dwindling, we will deal with mass deportation, but we won't deport women and children. I'd like to know where the fuck the women and children are, quite frankly, because a lot of the people in these dinghies, like I'd probably say like 90% of them, are not women and children. They're fighting age men or economic invaders wanting to do damage to our society, most of which pass through at least a dozen safe countries that they should be thankful to even receive a little bit of bread and water, let alone the shit that we give them. Like, when people get a handout in other countries, it's a regular hand. Our hand is covered in fucking gold, what we hand out to them. Makes you wonder if Midas had any hand in this. Anyway, we hand out practically the world to these invaders, and yet Keir the traitor Starmer can't see that this is going to be cutting off our noses in spite of our faces. Now let me be absolutely clear, because I have to do this so that then the NPCs can't then come out and say, oh, he's a racist, oh, he has anti-migrant rhetoric, or whatever bollocks they want to come out with. I don't have a problem with people wanting to come over here and integrate with us. I don't have a problem with people who want to work and contribute. I have a problem with the shitty cultures that a lot of these Middle Eastern people bring, the Sunni Islam side of things. I have a problem with people who don't want to integrate with society, who don't want to respect our laws, who don't want to respect our beliefs. I definitely have a problem with terrorists and jihadists that want to come over to this country and destroy us. You're absolutely right. And anybody that doesn't have a problem with that needs to get themselves checked out from the neck up. Because believe it or not, I think our safety is very fucking important. I think it's very important that we protect our women and children. I think it's very important that we protect our cultures and our societies from invading men who have no legal or human right to be here, who want to terrorize us and make us prisoners in our own country. I also think our country should be safe from foreign criminals and those Islamists that are born and bred in our country who then want to radicalize people and bring them down the teachings of Sunni Islam and then bring them to bear against the people. I don't think the Middle East has any bears though. Quite a few goats though. Anyway, I don't want these people who threaten our society in our country. I only want people who genuinely love this country. I want people that respect Christianity. I want people who respect St. George's Cross. But what's sad is the Home Office thinks that these invaders have more human rights than their own citizens, that we should be prioritising their human rights over ours. I wonder if these are the same people in the Home Office that were willing to basically try and protect Axel Radaku Banana, even though he didn't give a shit about those 3 innocent girls, Elsie Dot, Bebby King. I knew there was something wrong, and that's my brain was going like, Matt EXE has stopped working. Elsie Dot, Bebby King, and Alice de Silva Aguila, God rest their souls. Just like that vermin didn't give a shit about their human rights to the extent he stabbed one of them 120 fucking times. Are they really more interested in protecting terrorists like Axel over their own citizens? Is that really what they're telling us? Are they more interested in protecting the hotels rather than the UK weapon sites that could give these invaders all the stuff they need to rise up and remove all of us? I don't know about you, but I think I know who I'd be fucking protecting. And it isn't the invaders. It's not the Islamic extremists that want to turn our country into a caliphate-ridden third world shithole. And it certainly ain't the priorities of the criminals, the foreign ones that is, that are destroying our culture, damaging our society, destroying our economy, that I would want to prioritise. This land was made by the English, for the English, to protect the English. The only holy prophet that people believe in Christianity is God, not some predator of children who married Aisha when she was a 7-year-old girl and made out with her. The Christians will say this far better than I ever will, as I'm not truly a devout Christian. But Christ is king. Thank you. Well, Christ, you need to get your rose garden in order. Charles is ruining it. Anyway, that is the only prophet that we will ever put our commitment to. If these people coming from other countries wanted a really safe place, immediately, there and then, they would have taken refuge in one of the many safe countries across Europe. But they come over here because we're a soft touch, and the oligarchy will hand out tons of money, a free phone, free housing, free food to invaders who are not entitled to it because they broke the law. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me. It doesn't suit the narrative. It's also interesting to note that Keir the traitor Starmer obviously made a deal with the French, even though the French have stroke number one categorically made a deal to say, deal with the boats. He made a deal to basically tell them, you need to get rid of these people. You need to stop these invaders from using your shores to come to our country. They won't even go into the fucking sea, the French. So if they're not willing to defend their own seas, if they're not willing to stop these people from going into the sea to come to our country, the French are complicit. That's the trouble though when you have a dickhead like Macron in power. The lefty lovies don't give a shit about the plights of the working class. They care more for what gives them more money and what gives them more power. And it seems to be funny how they always seem to follow the same tactics when it comes down to stopping someone who they consider far right, or somebody they consider a threat to the oligarchy, like Donald Trump, or Marine Le Pen, or even someone like Tommy Robinson. They will do everything they can, they will pool all the resources they can to see to it that these people are either jailed, killed, or silenced. While they may treat the invaders with a silk glove, they do not rule their countries with a silk glove, they rule it with an iron fist. Well, we need to become the opposite. We need to treat the invaders with an iron fist, but be a country that rules with a leather glove. Leather can be hard, leather can be soft. Leather can treat you however you want to be treated. Yes, something random for you. I felt like doing something different for a change. It does feel like the Great Escape though, doesn't it? Anyway, if the French are being told, you need to deal with your shores, you need to stop these people from coming over, and they're not doing it, I tell you what my first port call would be. Remove the deal. Take away their money. Tell them, you can go fuck yourselves. We want our money back. Because the French have taken money to not do their job. If it were down to me, I'd be bankrupting those fuckers. Just like that. Because if they're not doing their job, why do we pay them? That's the thing. We need to have control of our borders. We need to start taking out the trash. Whether it's metaphorically speaking, or literally speaking. And we need to place it in the dustbin of history where it rightfully belongs. I don't care if it's Birmingham's trash or the foreign invaders' trash. I couldn't care less. But they need to be purged from our lands. They need to be removed from our lands. If they are not willing to contribute to our society, respect our laws, respect our beliefs, and actually do something with our lives, we don't fucking want them. And I'm not going to be ashamed of saying that. At the end of the day, we have been putting the safety and the human rights of terrorists and criminals before our own fucking people. That's got to stop. We need to put our own people first, and if that means that we have to be robust and put the Navy in the Channel and a few snipers to shoot out the dinghies to stop the fuckers coming and then send them straight back, that's what we need to fucking do. It's down to who's got the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to actually make that decision. I don't see Keir the traitor Starmer doing that. I don't see Nigel El-Faraji doing that. I hate to say this, but I think this is the cold, bitter truth. I don't think even Ben Habib has got the balls to do that, as nice enough a man as he is, and a lot of what he says is absolutely right. But here's the thing. I want a party that represents England, not a party that represents Britain. Big difference. Britain implies the oligarchy. England represents the land of the free, the land of the Christian people, the land of the people who fought and bled and worked blood, sweat and tears into this country for the last 2,000 fucking years. And last time I checked, I don't think those people in the medieval times called England Britain either. That's why I've always said I will stand behind UKIP, because they actually stand by their principles. They understand that this is a Christian country, and ultimately they understand that we need to protect England, not Britain. If we want to have different constituents to protect, like Wales and Scotland, that's absolutely fine. England, Wales, Scotland. That is the United Kingdom. That is what should be effectively common sense. That's what we need to be protecting. When we protect England, Scotland and Wales, we're not protecting Britain, we're protecting a United Kingdom. That's the truth of it. If you support Britain, you support the oligarchy. You support England, Scotland and Wales, and you support a United Kingdom. You support England, Scotland and Wales. Bottom line is, the whole fiasco with Tommy Robinson, we knew from the start that Tommy would never assault someone unprovoked. We knew damn well that he is not as stupid as the mainstream media would like us to believe, or that we are as stupid as the mainstream media would like to believe. So please do not insult what little intelligence I have up between my ears. Tommy Robinson would not make all this effort to arrange this freedom of speech rally on the 13th of September to be like, oh, you know what, fuck it, mate, come here, mate, let me punch your lights out, boom. Like, fuck is he gonna do that? Like, any person worth their salt is not going to throw away what work they've fucking done, quite frankly. To suggest otherwise is absolute poppycock. At the end of the day, the oligarchy, the mainstream media, the two-tier policing society, the two-tier justice system, and of course, the biggest knob in the land, Keir the traitor Starmer. I'm surprised he hasn't got his own Guinness Book of World Records for all of his fucking accomplishments. Because as I said, he will be known as the worst Prime Minister in the history of England for the next 1,000, 2,000 years. He is not going to be outmatched by anyone, not even Tony the War Criminal Blair, not even Gordon the Bully and Blundering Brown, not even a combination of them all. Keir the traitor Starmer will always be the worst Prime Minister we have ever had and ever will have for those next 2,000 years. That's one good, well, one really bad, actually, bad record to have in the Guinness Book of World Records, Starmer. You'll also be the only Prime Minister who will have started a civil war. Again, not something you should be proud of. You'll be the only Prime Minister who has actively incited violence towards his own people, and perish the thought, one day, I suspect this is going to happen. I think the left and the right are going to unite. They're going to perhaps have a truce, if you will. They will put their differences aside and see the real enemy that's staring them right in the face. And I'm not talking this mug, I'm talking about Keir the traitor Starmer. Like, these are all things he should not be proud of. But I don't think he even gives a shit. Although there are some instances where we can see Starmer is absolutely terrified. Though I think he's more terrified of getting caught than actually terrified of his absolutely morally reprehensible crap that he has committed against the English. But as I said before, at the start, in the middle, and the end, one record Keir the traitor Starmer will always hold over the guy with the 13.5-inch one and the guy with the 20-inch one. But Keir the traitor Starmer will always be known as the biggest knob in the land.